Season 3 of Star Trek Discovery has finally arrived. Today, of course, we're jumping straight into the future along with the show to discuss our first thoughts on Episode 1. Let's go. Hello everyone, my name is Captain Jack and welcome to Trek Central. The first episode of Star Trek Discovery, Season 3, titled That Hope Is You Part 1, was being written by Michelle Paradise, Jenny Lumet and Alex Kurtzman. Olatunde Asume has returned to direct the premiere episode after directing a ton of fantastic episodes for the series previously. In case you're wondering where to watch this season, then don't worry, we've got you covered. Episode 1 of Season 3 is online and watchable right now via CBS All Access and CTV Sci-Fi/Crave, but will be available internationally on October 16th via Netflix. So heads up if you've not seen the episode yet, this video will contain spoilers in this review, keep that in mind. Now of course, to keep up to date with our latest Star Trek Discovery Season 3 reviews and latest news as well, then make sure to hit that subscribe button to never miss a video. We're also streaming live on every Sunday at 9 PM BST to discuss our thoughts and we invite you to come along. I hope to see you there. Alright, in the meantime, let's explore the future. Season 3 of Discovery is a brand new frontier for the series. Going over 900 years into the future is certainly going to be a change of scenery, not only for the crew of the USS Discovery, but also for us viewers as well. We've not really seen too much of the 31st and 32nd centuries when it comes to past Star Trek iterations, so Discovery really is doing its namesake to be honest. The episode serves its purpose as a new season opener. While I wouldn't say it's the best episode ever, it does successfully leave us wanting more information about the new galaxy we're finding ourselves in. Therefore we're going to need to watch more episodes of Discovery over the coming weeks. I'll share more thoughts on the episode towards the end of this video, but right now, I really want to chat about specific parts of the first episode, so let's get down into the breakdown section. The opening itself gave us a quick recap of Season 2, which basically explains why the USS Discovery and Commander Burnham needed to travel 930 years into the future. Along with this, we're also treated to a repeated sequence of an unknown man at this point going about his daily routine. It's the same man from the Season 3 trailers who has some sort of affiliation with the Federation and Starfleet, or at least what's left of it by the year 3187. It's going to take some getting used to saying 3187, so if I accidentally say 2387, please do feel free to correct me. The man is later revealed to be a Federation attendant, overseeing a long-range starbase which has since been long crippled due to reactor overload, but we'll talk more about this and the specifics at the end of this video. Jumping straight into the action, our new character of Book, played by David Ajala, is in his fancy starship being chased by some other alien who's accusing him of stealing cargo. Not only is he doing some fancy flying on his ship, but both ships are flying through a debris field of what appears to be a Federation starship. Looking at the hull, it's got the standard NCC registration and the USS tag, but no information that tells us what this ship is or who it was. Booker's ship is definitely an interesting design. It's called the Nautilus, which has some very interesting control panels which I massively enjoy. The 3D style controls that these interactions use are very cool and I think I enjoy them more than the actual 3D controls used in Star Trek Picard. Now after she finishes crash landing in style, Burnham lands and sends the suit to do the last signal. This fulfills the promise she made to Spock and the Enterprise, that once she completed her journey into the future, she would send the last red signal to confirm she arrived safely. Burnham's Starfleet survival training kicks in after landing, and she immediately jumps into the action trying to see if the Discovery and crew reached her destination, along with also identifying that there is indeed life in the new year of 3187. I will say the tears, while personally I find them annoying, were justified in this setting. If I had travelled 930 years into the future and lost my only connection to the ship, I'd likely be slightly crazy when you think about it. Eventually the commander finds our new character's ship, which has somewhat crash landed on the planet, though if it did crash land, apparently it's rather intact. Well, you'd think the inside would be a mess of some sorts, but no, it's really clean. Even a cat survived. Though it is shown that this ship, which is obviously highly futuristic to Burnham and us, has some sort of cloaking device. Book jumps out of the shadows and proceeds to fight Burnham. While this fight sequence does work, it does appear slightly badly choreographed in my opinion. A rather generic sci-fi fight to me. The sounds of the hits kind of sound off as well, that might just be me, but let me know. Yes, this is a drama at the end of the day and it is done for that sake, but still, it just feels a bit off in my opinion. The reference to her phaser being an antique is quite fun and does make sense. Essentially, Burnham is actually a relic from the past at this point. We also do get a reference to the Gorn, thanks to Booker, who apparently destroyed an area of subspace. Book says that he requires a dilithium recrystallizer, which is the same technology that Poe made, the Queen of Zia, in the 23rd century, who we met in the second season of Star Trek Discovery. Going into the ship, Book has a temperature-sensitive cargo that he stole from Cosmo, the same alien chasing him in the episode opening. We're also shown more of the ship in a slower pan, giving us a heads up of the new technology and its control systems. Booker also actually references a new technology for travel, but one that's not that new, quantum slipstream, something which has been explored in Star Trek before. Those of you who played Star Trek Online will know that quantum slipstream is kind of a de facto mode of travel if you want to get anywhere fast. Finally, we are introduced to the biggest star of Star Trek history, Grudge the cat, who is a rather large cat and belongs to Book, apparently living on a ship and surviving crash landings. To be fair, if Burnham had killed the cat in episode 1, that would have been a bit awkward for the whole season. The two eventually agree to work together, and while walking over to this planetary marketplace, Book and Burnham have the conversation which we've been speculating about for some time now. Of course, the ghost conversation about the Federation and Starfleet being gone. This adversely affects Burnham, as it would anyone given the circumstances she faces. We find out that the burn happened, and we finally learn what the burn actually is. It's when dilithium across the galaxy ignited for some unknown reason. Obviously, this meant that mostly all starships that had dilithium being used blew up or was severely damaged. Which definitely is a way to explain why Starfleet and the Federation were so fractured. The burn occurred around 110 to 120 years ago, according to Book, meaning this event would have happened in around the 3060s in the 31st century. We'll explore more about this later and how it ties into the Temporal Cold War. After this conversation, the pair head over to Requiem, and it turns out to be a bustling city with a floating marketplace. Very cool, and definitely reminds me of the Citadel from Mass Effect. I'm also getting some Stardust City rag vibes from Star Trek Picard, especially with the usage of so many holograms and such. Honestly, the city is interesting, but it doesn't really sell me on the whole 32nd century idea. I don't know, maybe that's just me. Within the marketplace, we see a hologram of an Andorian and an Orion. It seems that at least on this planet, that the Orions and Andorians have joined forces to run this place, which totally makes sense, as even though the Orions are pirates and the Andorians are warriors, they can find some common ground. Book says this might be my favourite line in the entire season so far. Obviously there's only one episode, but you get my point. He says, "Pretend you're not Andorian for a second and don't be a surly bastard." Honestly, I think the character of Book is going to grow on me. He certainly has some very cold-witted sarcasm, and that sort of British mentality sticks up really well. I like him. We learn a little bit more about how this new world operates. Couriers, like Book, are utilised to get materials and do jobs for clients, and are paid by their bosses in just enough dilithium to get the couriers where they need to go to do the transaction. It's a very interesting situation, and I very much like it. This is probably how the series is weirdly topical to our current day situation, with ourselves mostly being isolated from one another and requiring mailmen to deliver us supplies. God bless Amazon Prime is all I'm saying. Two people teleport out of the marketplace by simply tapping their comm badge, which is a personal transporter. This amazes Burnham, and who would blame her? To us, we're used to comm badges that work as comm badges, and aren't just badges. But Burnham is even older than those old scientists from the TOS era, so I would be amazed by this. The amazement on Burnham's face is well acted by Sonique Martin Green here, so hats off to her on her acting capability in this scene. Unfortunately, before we learn more, Book leads Burnham into a stasis beam and he steals her Starfleet equipment. Burnham eventually gets sent into an interrogation by the same Orion and Andorian leader of this place. She's sprayed with some truth serum, and I will say the cam work during this tripped out drug scene is hilarious and so good. At the same time though, the Orion looks very plasticky. I'm not sure what's up with the makeup design here, it just looks very plasticky. I don't really like it that much, I don't know. I prefer the design in Enterprise, here they look a bit weird. It turns out this was all part of a plan to attack the station and get the dilithium which Book needs to get his ship running. As Book and Burnham reunite and cause some havoc, not long before Cosmo tracks Book down and threatens to roast Grudge, his cat, and feed it to the starving. To which Book obviously replies saying Grudge is a queen, and we have to agree, Grudge certainly is a queen. Hopefully we get to see some good scenes of her in Season 3, though from a trailer showing us what's coming up in Season 3 of Discovery, it seems Tilly gets some interaction with her. They actually manage to steal a lot of dilithium while Burnham is still high, and utilise their personal transporter. We get a couple of scenes of our duo transporting across the planet to get back to their ship, and therefore they're chased by the gangster goons. Dom, seriously? In these groups are not only Andorians, but Cardassians and Lurians as well. It's great to see some more legacy aliens, though for me the design of Andorians is still not my cup of tea compared to their look in Star Trek Enterprise. Burnham of course gets injured, and we learn that Book isn't human, or at least is only part human, as he needs some sort of communion with animals and plants. We get something that heals Burnham's wound because it magically comes out of the ground. Book does ask Burnham if she's a time traveller, and we get told that after the Temple Wars, time travel technology was destroyed. Considering Daniels was around in the year 3052, and then the time travel tech was destroyed, this would have been nothing to prevent the burn that would occur a decade later. We'll be exploring the Temple Cold War and how it might tie into the Star Trek Discovery in an upcoming video, so keep an eye out for that one, coming hopefully very soon. Of course, the duo make it back to the ship, but are inserted by not only Cosmo, but the gangster bosses. We also learn that password to unlock Book's ship turns out to be sticky, because yeah, why would it not be? And the gangsters manage to get back the cargo, which is in fact something called a transworm. Honestly, I felt like the whole worm thing was something straight out of Star Wars in a way, which isn't an issue, but it does come across as slightly generic sci-fi, but I'll talk more about that later. The transworm kills all the gangsters and actually eats Burnham, but Book manages to calm down the worm and it spits Burnham out. Definitely wasn't expecting that, but it was quite humorous for that moment. It spit her out faster than a tube elevator is what I'm going to say. It turns out that Booker is actually saving these transworms as the Federation is no longer around to enforce their Endangered Species Act, which was seen in the Season 1 episode of Magic to Make the Sanest Man Go Mad, when Harry Mudd used the Gormaganda to infiltrate the Discovery. It turns out these transworms used to reside on Book's home planet, but they were nearly hunted to extinction. Book's people are also hunters, it seems. Apart from when he was born, it was considered an anomaly in the gene pool, as he would rather look after life than hurt it for sport and such. After returning the transworms to a place known as Sanctuary 4, Burnham and Booker make it to a massive Starfleet space station which is partially damaged, presumably from ships colliding with it, or its own reactor going if that required dilithium. The design is very futuristic Starbase type space station, which is amazing. You can even see the Starfleet logo on what appears to be the hangar. While observing the station, you can actually see an interesting Starfleet ship in the background as well, clearly destroyed and is left drifting in space. It turns out that this place was where the Federation officer, from the opening of the episode, was residing, and he's apparently been in the job at least 40 years, waiting to serve his purpose at the relay station. This was the job of his father and grandfather, waiting in his place to serve the Federation. Unlike his father, however, he is the only one left he never became a commissioned officer, so for the last 40 years he's never seen the Federation flag in his office. He damn well has some principles that he sticks to, I'll say that. Looking more into his character, as I find him really interesting, his opening line of "Hello, welcome to Starfleet, may I help you?" is oddly haunting. Yes, this man is Starfleet and associated with the Federation, but it's not the organizations we once knew. It's changed and gone in some capacity. So where is the Starfleet we actually know? The Federation attendant is called Aditya Sahil, played by actor Adil Hussain, who is guest starring in this episode, and I think he'll likely be a recurring character throughout the series. His Federation relay station, which has been guarding over since 3148, is a waypoint for couriers like Book. We learn that the relay station is severely damaged, and therefore can only detect ships within a 600 light-year radius, but has detected 2 Starfleet ships in range. I wonder who these ships are, maybe the Enterprise or the Titan. That's obviously just a small joke. Sadly, Riker won't be saving the day at the end of a season like Lower Decks. A man can dream. Maybe it's like Riker's offspring, I don't know, we can think. Burnham makes this man acting communication chief of a damaged Federation relay. Together it seems like they work on reconnecting Federation assets, while Burnham seeks out the USS Discovery and where it ended up in its timeline. It's important to note that Sahil points out that due to the methods of time, the Discovery could arrive in a day or 1,000 years as Burnham speculates. It's important to note as well that Sahil says even though he does not know much of a Federation exists by his time, he does his part to keep it alive. There's definitely a lot more we can learn from this character, and hopefully we get to explore him more in Season 3, hopefully Episode 2 and 3. Okay, so let's share some of our final thoughts on this episode. The major thing, and I will say before we get into the majority of this reaction, is that I liked a lot of this episode, but overall it definitely wasn't the strongest. The beginning and the end of the episode to establish the world we're in and what the series arc will be was great, and makes me very excited to see where we're going. The middle of the episode was definitely the weakest for me. It felt very generic sci-fi with just varnishes of Star Trek to tide it over. Hopefully we get out of this underworld of this new universe and into the big factions like the Federation itself. The feeling will clear up. It definitely feels like some early universe aspects of Star Trek Enterprise, which I guess makes sense to me. At the end of the day, this is a brand new setting for Star Trek Discovery Season 3. It's pushing the boundaries of the frontier which we know, so new things are to be expected. It might be because we're used to having Federation stuff everywhere, while we're now in a new galaxy. Let's talk about our new character, Cleveland Booker. I would say he's definitely the redeeming quality of this episode. He's very much a Han Solo type with more of a heart up his sleeve. His type of sarcasm and humour is definitely mine, so I love him even more. David Arjala has played Booker so well, it makes him an extremely likeable character, one I really want to see more of as season 3 progresses. To round this off, yes, this isn't the strongest episode in my opinion, therefore we await episode 2, but it does give us a good start into the 32nd century of the Star Trek universe. We're going forth and seeing a future and what it's like. My only hope is that Commander Burnham herself does not save the entire Federation or future. Don't get me wrong, Burnham as a character works really well, but I want the whole crew of the USS Discovery to contribute effectively and pitch in at the end of the day. Hopefully they will whenever they actually arrive into the future. Maybe in episode 2 or episode 3, we're going to have to wait and see. New episodes of Star Trek Discovery Season 3 air weekly on Thursdays for CBS All Access and Crave, and then Fridays internationally for those who have got Netflix. That's the end of our first review of Star Trek Discovery Season 3. Please do share your thoughts on this episode with us via the video comment section below. Of course, you're welcome to come and discuss the episode live with us this Sunday here on YouTube at 9 PM BST. Tune in to Trek Central Live to share your thoughts. If you're new around here and want to keep up to date with the latest Star Trek news and information, then make sure to hit that subscribe button to never miss a video from the team here at Trek Central. You of course can follow us on social media for the latest updates on the Trek universe. All links are available via the video description. For now, I've been Captain Jack, and I'll be back with another episode review this time next week. In the meantime, live long and prosper, my friends.